Welcome to Mr. Brown's Basement, a channel devoted to sharing the craft of repairing, restoring, and modifying vintage electronic gear, and other random stuff. At the end of the last video, I had taken the TV apart completely and put the case pieces out so you could see them. Unfortunately, you can't really see how faded they are. They look much lighter on the camera than they do in person. Anyway, this video is all about using the Retr0brite process to try and make the case come a little closer to what it was when it was new. These are the materials I used for the Retr0brite process. Now, before you go out and buy them, watch the rest of the video because you may not need everything that you see. Let me go through them. Clear nail polish, thanks to Amazon. Hydrogen peroxide 3%. Oxy stain remover from Walmart. 40% peroxide hair developer. Masking tape, premium. And a smart plug. You will also need a source of ultraviolet light. This is a germicidal lamp in a plastic housing. And some place to do your work. This is just a plastic tub from the dollar store paintbrush, and some measuring cups. These are again from the dollar store. I mark them so that I can use them to measure. You should also have gloves to protect your hands because you don't want to be exposed to these chemicals on your skin. At the heart of the Retr0brite process is putting a bleaching compound onto the plastic surface, allowing it to work while exposing it either to ultraviolet light or to heat or both. It's wintertime in southwestern Ontario, about -5 degrees, and there's not a lot of sunlight that I can depend on. I will use this UV lamp as my source of UV instead of sunlight. The thing about UV is it can cause cancer and blindness. You need to minimize your exposure to it. One of the things I used was a smart outlet so I could turn it on and off from far away. I tried several methods to Retr0brite the case, and I'm going to go through them all so that you see what worked for me and what didn't. The first thing I tried was taking a Ziploc bag, filling it up with hydrogen peroxide solution, sticking the objects into the bag and pushing out all the air. Then I exposed it to ultraviolet light and waited. I'm talking about maybe 12 hours. The effect was somewhere between nothing and negligible. The next thing I tried was the developer cream. I used a paintbrush and gave it a generous coating and then exposed it to the ultraviolet light. After a few hours, I could see a small difference. But the problem is the developer kept drying out, so it had to be reapplied. I thought I could slow down the evaporation of the developer by putting a layer of saran wrap on top, but what this did was made the bleaching far more uneven. I thought that if I took the whole setup I had from before and made it warmer, perhaps I could increase the activity of the developer. Well, that didn't work. All it did was it dried out the developer. It made the bleaching slow and uneven. Again, I put plastic wrap on top of the cream developer to see if I could slow the evaporation. That it did do, but it also made the bleaching slow and uneven. I had read that the bleach could be made faster by adding an activator. I don't know the mechanism. I'm not a chemistry teacher or a chemist. You take a half part activator, which is the Walmart Oxy, 1 part water, and 4 parts of the hair cream, and mix them together. You get a gritty mixture which you then apply with the brush and then expose to ultraviolet. And I found that it made a huge difference. I could see a bleaching difference even after just 2 hours. I wanted to preserve some of the labels on the outside of the case and protect them from the bleach because I was afraid they would be bleached along with the outside of the case. Here are my results. As you saw earlier, I used nail polish over the labels to protect them, but this didn't protect them completely. Adding masking tape on top of the hardened lacquer made a big difference. In summary, the best results I got were with the cream developer plus the activator, and I got fairly good results, but I had to do the process a number of times. It's not perfectly even, and it's not quite as white as I'd like it to be, but I think I reached the point of diminishing returns that each time I tried to retrobrite, it did less. So I'm going to have to be satisfied with what I got, or find another process. Unfortunately, these pictures really don't do the process justice. What started as plastic that ranged from buttermilk to mustard now goes from buttermilk to milk. I suppose I could try retrobriting a few more times. I think I would end up doing more damage to the labels and do very little additional brightening. The next task will be to get this TV back together, though I won't be putting it all back together in this video because other things need to be done. Let's start by cleaning the CRT face with Windex and a soft cloth. It's very important that you do this, otherwise you'll discover it later on and you'll have to take the set all apart again. Next is removing the 3 knobs. They just pull off. And they will have to be washed, but not with Windex. You need a better grease cutter. I use something called Spray 9. This kind of knob tends to get filled up with finger grease, which gets into the grooves. And then it attracts other dirt, so it takes a lot of effort to get them clean. While I'm here, I'm going to use some Windex to remove dirt on the printed circuit board below. I'm not going to use Spray 9 with it because it may be corrosive. Finally, the cleaned knobs can be slid back onto the shafts. Make sure you have a piece of soft plastic or foam so that the face of the TV doesn't get scratched. The paint is very, very fragile. Then slowly ease the chassis back into the case, making sure that you don't pinch anything. Here it really helps to have a mildly magnetized screwdriver to hang onto the screws because you're putting them quite far in. 4 screws in each corner of the CRT bracket, plus 3 screws to hold in the tuners. Like the 3 knobs I did before, the VHF and UHF channel selectors tend to get really filthy and take a long time to get reasonably clean. Both paper and Q-tips are very helpful here, and Spray 9. You might be tempted to use something more aggressive to get the gunk out, but if you do, you have to be very careful that you don't distress the finish, which tends to be fragile, and you can make things look much worse very easily. Next, the black plexiglass visor needs to be reinstalled, but first it has to be cleaned inside and out. I'll use Spray 9 to get rid of the heavy-duty grease and then go over with Windex afterwards. The plastic visor should just clip into place gently. Make sure it's locked in all 6 places. To make it easier to deal with the set, I'm going to put the base back on. The base is held on with 1 screw, which is fed through a support in the middle of the base. And it's lined up, a little bit tricky to get it just right, but once it's lined up, just tighten it securely. So there you have it. The base is reattached to the TV. It's safe. It's not going to roll away. The next video will deal with the clock and the remaining issues with this TV. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, maybe even subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.